We are here today doing a hub assembly replacement on the front driver's side of this 1996 GMC 1500 Suburban SLT. We're going to go ahead and get our jack underneath there, get the vehicle jacked up. As soon as we get that up, we'll be right back. So, now that we have the vehicle jacked up, we've got a jack stand under here, we've got our jack underneath the control arm. You'll take a 36mm socket and you'll go ahead and put it on the spindle nut itself. And then, because if you don't have fancy tools, you'll have to have somebody in the vehicle. They'll press on the brake while you bust it loose with this and a cheater bar around it like that. As you can see right here, we already have it loose for the most part. We're just finishing it the rest of the way. So as soon as we're done getting the spindle nut off, we're going to go ahead and start taking the brake caliper off. We'll be right back. We now have the spindle nut removed. Behind the spindle nut there will be a washer like this. Now that that's done, we're going to come in behind the brake caliper with a 3/8 hex drive bolt, and we're going to break the bolts loose. When we do that, we're going to go ahead and take the brake caliper and we'll just hang it on this little S hook right off of that little hole right there, so it's out of the way until we're done. We'll be back in just a minute after the brake caliper's off. Alright, we have the brake caliper removed. It's hanging over on our S-clip over here. Once that's removed and once the spindle nut is removed, we can go ahead and remove the rotor off. Now that we're to this point, we're going to start working on getting the brake line sensor off. And then after we get that off, we'll start working on getting the hub assembly off. We'll be right back. We are beginning the removal of the brake line sensor. So up here is where it's clipped together. After you unclip it, you'll take a 13mm socket. You'll come up on this bolt right here and this bolt right here. Once you do that, it will free up this line. After we're done doing that, we'll be right back to show you what to do to remove the hub assembly. So now that we have the brake line sensor off, we're going to go ahead and take our 15mm deep well socket. We're going to go through these holes, and you'll have to make sure that they're lined up with the bolts behind it. There's 3 of them. After we get those off, we're going to go ahead and start removing the hub. And we are back. We have removed the bolts. We have this cover plate, which sits right over here like this. After you get all of that off, if it is tight and you're having trouble getting it off, grab something that'll fit in here into the hole and give it a few smacks with a hammer to help get this loose. You don't want to use anything that goes over here because you may damage the threading, which will make it really hard to get your spindle nut back on. In our case, this one's actually really easy to remove. So we're going to go ahead and just take this off, and there you have it. This is the part that we're going to be changing. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to come in, we're going to clean up all this, get it all squared away, and we will start the reinstall. We'll see you in just a minute. Alright, now we have our entire area all cleaned up and ready, so it's time to reinstall the new part. Make sure when you do reinstall the part that your sensor wire is lined up appropriately, otherwise you'll have to take it off and redo it again. So after we get this part reinstalled, we'll be right back. Okay, now we have the new hub assembly reinstalled and everything's bolted down. The brake sensor line is already reattached up there here and clipped in. We're going to go ahead and put the rotor on, and we're going to start getting the brake caliper back on. If you find that you have trouble doing this, one of the things that you can do is put the rotor on and take one of the lug nuts and screw it on to help hold it in position while you put everything back together, so that way you don't have to deal with the rotor flopping around. So as soon as we get the rotor on and the brake caliper reinstalled, we'll be right back. Now that we have the brake caliper on and the rotor back on, what you'll do after you do that is you'll take the washer, put it on, and then you'll take your spindle nut and screw it on. Tighten it down After you're done doing that, all you have to do is put your tire back on, tighten it down, drop the vehicle off of the jacks, take it for a test drive, and that's pretty much it. Until the next episode, see you guys.